Hello Internet and welcome to the Sounds of Stadia post show, episode number 25. You join us right off the back of episode number 68 this Friday for those of you watching on free feeds, and for our lovely patrons you're getting it 5 days early. The joys of it, all for subscribing over on patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia. And we are here this week to bring you another topic sent into the show, partially by myself because I've been playing a lot of Valhalla and there's a lot of things in Valhalla that pertain to this. So my entire session today is going to be about Valhalla. You're joining myself, Chris, alongside, of course, my lovely two co-hosts, Tom, to my right, your left, hopefully with fixed internet issues.
We hope. It's been pretty stable a little bit, but I'm not going to jinx it. Well,
you kind of just did. But anyway, below him, the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie, joining us once again for the Glorious Post Show, where the topic of the week this week is not video game 20 questions. Haha, you thought it was. You thought we were going to play that game till the end of time now. But no, we have gone back.
Probably didn't, Chris, because I saw the thumbnail.
Probably, yeah, that's not the point. But we've got a topic for you this week, everyone. We're going to get back to our topics now, a deep discussional point. And this one, it's going to be frustrating game traits or moments. So what I'm talking about is the little intricacies in games that us and our little first world problems like to pick at and moan about, when realistically they are hours and years upon work and coding and gamer development. But we're going to scrutinise them and laugh at them and just shake our heads at some of the best moments that we've came across, whether it be recently or on a years back. But I would like to kick things off, gentlemen, this week. Because like I mentioned in the main show, I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Great game, undoubtedly. Does it come with some problems and some flaws? Yes. Yes, it does. And I'm here to talk to you. Welcome to my TED Talk about some of the problems with Valhalla. And I'd like to kick things off, right? The menu. Cursor menus in games. Why? When I have directional buttons and analog controls, why do I have to wiggle around this mouse cursor?
I can tell you exactly why.
Destiny.
There's a very simple reason. Because often the programming is for PC and console, so they want to only program one method that works for both.
Yeah, it's partially down to laziness, in my opinion.
No, it's entirely down to laziness.
But they would argue it's efficiency. It's efficiency from a programming perspective.
Yeah, it's laziness.
Nah.
As buggy as CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077 is, you can use your directional buttons in the menu.
You can in Valhalla, I believe. Just once it's on a menu, you can still navigate using the directionals. Yeah. But there's just this cursor that's always hanging around, and I just don't need it. I just don't need it, lads. And I blame Destiny.
Slow. It's the weird acceleration stuff going on as well.
Yeah, and I mean that's a little thing. Again, I don't mind it that much, but it's just one of those things where it's like we didn't have this for 20 years, and now it's in nearly every game. Yeah. But it's around to stay, it would appear. But yeah, sticking with Valhalla, two other things, and then I'll pass the ball across to you guys for us to play around with. Fishing in Valhalla, and Richie, I know you're going to expand on this, but my word, some of the side quests are so monotonously boring. So I'm doing one now where I have to find 5 of a particular, I think it's like brown trout, right, Tom? Just to lay the scene for yourself.
Not even any sort
not
of
even
fantastic trout.
No, not even like a good quality
basic
fish.
Bitch brown trout.
Yeah, not only just basic rich brown trout, regular size brown trout, not small, not large, regular. So I have to find 5 of a specific species of fish of a specific size in the entire United Kingdom. Now,
wow.
You have to go and hunt in specific areas that are also laden with other fish. And if you've not reached the fishing portion of Assassin's Creed Valhalla yet, brace yourself for how the mechanics work. You equip your rod from the menu where you would usually select your horse or your torch from. You equip your rod. You get a little scan target in the lake, you throw it in, and you wait. You just wait. It could be anywhere from 20 seconds till 2 minutes before anything happens. You can't do anything. You can't like wiggle the line a little bit. You can't reel it in. You can't add different bait. You just throw an empty bit of rope into the water and wait. And then occasionally you'll get a bite. And the mechanics for the bite are you have to wiggle left, wiggle right, while repeatedly tapping to reel it in. It doesn't work. The fish glitches on the land. It gets stuck between your horse, a random pole in the middle of the water. It gets caught on boats. I've literally spent the fish has practically been at my foot, at the base of my feet, in front of me, and I'm sat there tapping to reel it in because the animation can't do anything else. And I'm literally telling Eivor, the character, just bend down and pick the damn fish up. It's at your feet. Stop trying to reel it in when it's right there. And honestly, and then the fish gets away. The rope breaks, Tom, and the fish just escapes back into the wide lake. And then when you finally do pick it up, he holds it up with pride. And what have you caught? You've caught a freaking large pollock.
Regular brown. Right.
A large pollock.
What a load of pollocks.
After 10 minutes of fishing for this. And not only that, like I said, every time you can get different fish, you can get different sizes. The rest of them run away. So as soon as you throw your rod in the lake, all the other fish scatter. Well, they don't run. Yeah, they don't run away. They swim away.
No, that's a glitch.
And basically,
thank you very much for tuning into the post show where Chris gets angry at the wildlife.
And
Chris
basically,
hates fish.
I like fish in general.
That's the title of this episode. Chris hates fish.
Just not tuna.
But right? Just, I don't like tuna, no. But just in general,
yes.
My word, games are supposed to be fun, ladies and gentlemen, and this did everything in its power to take away the fun in this game. To a point where I think it took me half an hour. I tried different methods. I tried shooting the fish with arrows, but then I inevitably ran out of freaking arrows. And then when you shoot an arrow, they all scatter as well. It's just, yeah. After half an hour, I gave up. I managed to get 2 in half an hour, and it was like, I don't want to commit another half an hour of my life to finding these extra 3 fish just to complete this one damn side mission. To a point where I was like, you know what, fuck you, game. I turned it off and went to bed.
Do you know what makes it worse? If you're in Ravensthorpe, if you get unlocked your fishing hook, it's basically just a vendor way. I think you can buy runes. So you use different fish types to buy runes. And at no point while playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla did I give a damn about what any of my runes did, because they just didn't contribute anything really to the experience of playing it. So it's a completely unnecessary mechanic in the game.
Wow.
It doesn't add anything at all. They could have replaced that vendor with
a fish.
Another place to spend gold.
Yeah. A regular brown trout.
Yeah. So that, and then I think, Richie, you just said, fishing in every game is just bad. It's in Far Cry. It's bad in Far Cry as well.
It's bad in Zelda.
I just don't understand why they would implement something into a game that's just so pointless and monotonous. Like, no one asks for fishing in a game about assassinating people.
Here's my approach to a game that's fishing in. Oh, this game has fishing mechanics. I'm not going to use them mechanics. I'll continue with the game.
It's just
unless you're a trophy hunter.
I was going to say, are there any achievements actually linked?
I haven't looked yet, but I would guess.
But the trophy hunting experience would be better without the fishing mechanic, because it's just a waste of time.
Actually, I think there is a trophy for catch one of every species of fish.
Oh no, there's going to be some rare fish in there as well, isn't there?
Mechanic that can contribute to the rest of the game. So why
that's bad design. That's bad design.
You know what? I've got more for Valhalla, but I feel like I need a break. So feel free, one of you two, to take over.
All right, Richie. I'm going to jump in with one first, real quick, and then we'll throw it over to you. My first real pet peeve, my frustrating gaming mechanic, is what I would say is limited sprint pisses me off. Like having sort of like a stamina to an extent where you can only sprint for a certain amount of time. And not only that, but following up with the limited sprint as well, is that when you've just exhausted your stamina bar as well, and all of a sudden your character just doesn't give a shit anymore, they suddenly have, when you've completely depleted it, you get to this point where your character suddenly just starts going, oh, I can't be bothered to do anything anymore, and they're just flopping around.
And it just becomes... Dark Souls?
Yeah, I mean, I do enjoy Dark Souls, but to me, it's a genuine tactic to have stamina in Dark Souls. You actually use it. But if you were looking at a game like Call of Duty, for example, where the only time you really use sprinting is from cover to cover, just off the top of my head right there, like, it seems useless to have like a limited sprint bar in that sort of sense right there. I don't know. I hate it personally.
Yeah, I think the key thing is, like, resources like stamina, they make sense in something like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, where it's a game about exploration, and by upgrading your stamina meter, it unlocks further avenues to explore the world further. But Breath of the Wild, the movement isn't actually that really incredibly slow, so you don't feel like the need to constantly sprint everywhere. And you also have a horse.
You do have a horse, Richie, and I know why you've said that, because that's the segue into this next part that I'm going to vent about, which is the horse in most games, in fact, unable to be useful for anything other than sprinting in a straight line. Valhalla, again, one of those things. Any inclination that's higher than 10%, the horse just gives up. It doesn't want to know. It's great across flat surfaces, but as soon as you gallop along through the fields and meadows of England, and as soon as that gradient increases by a small margin, the horse is just, I'm out. Sorry, mate, I can't sprint. I have to do a slow trot at this point. And it's so frustrating to have such a large landscape. And obviously, we all live in the UK, very, very hilly. There's lots of ups and downs scattered across our glorious countryside. And the fact that you have to it's quicker to get off and sprint, which just shouldn't happen. A horse is faster than a man. Fact, for the most part, unless it's like Usain Bolt on steroids or something. But in terms of game mechanics, back to what you're saying then, Tom, it encumbers my fun. And I'm at a point where any time I reach a hill, I get off the horse and climb up it as a human, because it's just quicker. Whereas a horse should be able to bound up there, no problem. They're quite graceful animals, and I mean, you've seen them in the Olympics. They can jump over things. They can climb up things.
They can dance.
They can dance, for God's sakes. But then, and I think Richie, you mentioned it in a previous recording that the public will never see. Well, that wasn't even
because we didn't record it.
We didn't record it. But the fact that every little tiny fence, any little thing, like a horse would just hop over
the dry stone walls.
Yeah, would hop over it without question of doubt. But this time they have to take a big galloping run up and do a big leap over it as though it was like an Olympic hurdle.
Oh, and while we're on that note as well, let's not forget the times when you approach the wall from a tiny bit of an angle, where it doesn't register the wall at all, and it's just like, no, I'm done with this now. I'm not going there.
It's annoying because especially in like Valhalla, you go, oh, there's an interesting thing over there. I want to go over there, and you're sprinting on. Well, I say sprinting on your horse. It's in a slight incline, so slowly trotting along.
A slow trot.
Slow trot, and you get a dry stone wall, and he doesn't want to jump over. And it's like, just jump over the wall. It should be seamless. It's like, you're transport. You're not there to delay me.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this isn't just Valhalla. I found the same in Red Dead Redemption, albeit I think it was a little bit better in Red Dead Redemption. But it was the same through Odyssey and Origins as well. And I think just most games. I know The Witcher was plagued with funny horse moments with Roach just appearing on rooftops.
Roach on the
yeah, and other things.
Which was immortalised in Gwent, actually.
He did.
Immortalised in Gwent. One of the Gwent cards has got Roach on the house.
He's actually immortalised in Cyberpunk as well. If you go to the arcade, there's a game where you play as Roach, and I think it's like an 8-bit side scroll, and you've got to try and get the horse onto the roof. Is the kind of the end goal. But yeah, there's just just general NPC creatures, characters and such as well, because another thing for me, this will be my last Valhalla thing and then we'll get off the subject, but the cutscenes, like a lot of stuff is done within Ubisoft games in engine, and this goes for all Ubisoft games. It's like playing, again, Richie, you'll know as well, playing games like Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us Part 2 and stuff, which are the absolute bee's knees of facial animations.
Phenomenal.
And not even just horses, just people and everything. And then switching over to a Ubisoft title, which I know it's an open world game and there's a lot of different stuff and there's a lot more going on to some degree than there is in a linear story-based game. But my word, some of the facial animations and the clipping of your armour and stuff through your body and people. And I had one.
Raised the bar with their first-party titles.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me in Valhalla especially is you do a lot of random side mysteries or quests with these people.
Yeah.
And I did one just last night where the guy was looking for a ruby on the ground, I think, and it turned out one of his sheep ate it or something like that. It was like a brooch. And when I went back to him to complete the mission, his body was still like in a hunched down thing. So he was talking to me the whole time, doing all this big, oh, Eivor, thanks, you helped me out, my brother, blah, blah. The whole time he's just stood like a 90-degree angle looking at the floor and his arms are doing this. And it's like, what is that? Or they're really excited and all they keep doing is this animation.
Oh, the repeated animations.
Thank you for your help. It's been great. You really helped me and my family out in that scenario. And you're like, what the fuck is he doing with his hand? Like, just
don't you do that?
I mean, it's just there's like parts where, and you know when it takes me out of the experience. And I think when you look at other games, like again, the Naughty Dogs are the best of the best, but like they've just nailed like the emotion that they get across. And now, I mean, we've talked about before, but the children of Assassin's Creed Valhalla as well, the scary demon-looking, soulless eyes of those children, and I just think there's a lot that leaves to be desired. I know games like Horizon Zero Dawn got a bit of jip, and the Mass Effect games do for like their rigid animations when you're doing dialogue options. But for a game in 2020, I expected a little bit more from the cutscenes.
You're approaching one of the things I wanted to talk about, and although just to sum up what we've established in this episode so far is Chris hates fish and he hates horses.
I hate, yeah.
Join and sign up next week to see what other animals Chris hates. But no, for me, it's procedurally generated content.
Okay.
Unless a game is intentionally built around that as a core mechanic, for example, in this week's episode of the podcast, we talked about Road 96, which seems to be a very good, interesting implementation of it. But if you're just putting procedurally generated quests in to pad out your game, just stop doing it. The quests are boring, the NPCs are nondescript. Random NPC tells you a random location to do one of a small selection of tasks times 1 million across the game. Yeah. It's boring. It doesn't add anything to the game. It detracts from the game because it's stopping me playing the content that's actually interesting. The stuff that your writers spent time working on and put a lot of passion into. Like, it's just bollocks. I think Skyrim is the origin of that because...
Yeah. I think another one to add on to that as well is quests with timers as well, where you can only complete the quest under a specific time, or like not like this. Well, perhaps that, but also more in particular, like you can only accept and complete this quest within like you've got 20 minutes to do it, and if you miss that quest, then you're not going to be able to do that side quest, for example, or something like that. I think that's a little bit bollocks too. One last one from me though was I wanted to talk about this idea of not just limited stamina, but also limited inventory, or more importantly, like becoming over encumbered, which I think is an absolute joke in video games. Richie, you and I are very experienced with talking about like Skyrim being an absolute nightmare for this.
With Skyrim's looting system, you check, you've got over encumbered, you check your bags, and I've got 18 fucking buckets.
I can just imagine a bloke walking around with like 18 buckets just like over his arms.
Developers, not everything has to be lootable. Most of the stuff that's lootable is just getting chucked on the ground anyway.
That's the thing. I think there's an element within RPGs which is meant to be sort of like realistic. But the reality is you're not going to be going digging through absolutely everything. Yeah. But you sort of feel this need to when it becomes like hyper realistic to the point that I'm going to go through in a dungeon every single crypt that I walk by to loot piles of ash and dust and bones, or perhaps there's a great sword in there if I'm lucky. But as soon as I pick up a damn mushroom or a flower, all of a sudden I can't walk any further because I've just gone that like 0.01 like that single ounce over the over encumbered limit, to the point that my character has now suddenly just developed some sort of like crippling syndrome that he can't actually walk any further. Yes, I'm annoyed by that.
Have you ever had it in like something like Skyrim where you've went into a room and there's an enemy, he's a bit too strong for you, and so you say, I'm going to run, there's a door. You press like I only played Skyrim on PC, so it's like E to activate the door. Yeah. But then you've accidentally picked up the torch that was next to the door, made you over encumbered. Now you can't get through the fucking door. Like, didn't need this in the game.
Yeah.
And of course, the biggest irony of all that is you can't see one item you're carrying on your person at all.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like one weapon on the back or something that clips through your helmet, your cloak, and your everything else. It's funny.
Oh, this is fun.
Games, eh? How entitled do we sound right now?
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah, thank you so much for all the video game content over the years, but damn, we hate these mechanics.
It just you feel like some of them would have just got better at this point, right? Like Assassin's Creed, I joke about it, but we're on to the third game of this kind of reboot era, and it still has the same issues that Origins had 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, I just think it should be always going back. Any developer who's putting a mechanic in the game, does this make the experience of playing this game better or worse.
But it's strange to me because I imagine that they do that. So how the hell do they arrive at yes? Like that's what I want to know.
I get it. It's some games are going for the full immersive sim, like you're meant to fully embody this world, so therefore everything should be interactable. But it feels to me like as something that was a concept 15 years ago that this is to strive towards, but once it's been implemented, it's not fun.
Yeah. I find it quite strange as well with Valhalla that they made so many changes compared to Odyssey, because in my opinion, Odyssey was sort of like a pinnacle of a game in terms of like the mechanics and the way it works. And going into Valhalla, having only played a couple of hours of it, I still felt it was quite a stark difference to Odyssey. And it makes me wonder like why they decided to do that, because often you look to try to improve things, but I feel like with each of the Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, they've made substantial changes to the way that each of those games plays, and I find that very interesting from a gamer's perspective, really, as to why.
For the magic formula for Assassin's Creed, because I personally think Odyssey is massively overrated. Okay. That game is what I usually used to when I go rant about procedurally generated content about like, this entire I roll credits on that game, and there's entire huge sections of the map that I haven't even been to. Like there's just more content in the game than there needs to be. It's just stuff that they put in the game to make it longer. That doesn't actually add. So I think with Valhalla, they've tried to go the other way and strip a lot of that back. So I actually prefer Valhalla massively to Odyssey.
Yeah, there's an interesting balance, of course. They're all made by different studios. For one, Ubisoft. So like the Origins team are the ones who we know worked on Valhalla, but then you've got in between that you've got the Odyssey team who then moved on to Immortals, Phoenix Rising as well. So you've got that's weighing on it. That's obviously different people potentially across different departments, but then also you've got that marketing standpoint where they know they need to do something iterative on the game year on year. Otherwise, people are going to say, "Oh, it's just the same copy and paste mechanics by default with a different skin," which all games are once you break it down to a certain degree. But without making this the Assassin's Creed show, for better or for worse, I think they're all great in their own regard. This is no disrespect to any of the developers out there. We love your games. We play them for most of our lives.
Oh God, yeah.
And
as much as we moan about Valhalla, I clocked over 100 hours in that game.
Yeah,
like,
and
it's a very, very good game.
The very, very good game. Yeah, and I'm still just getting into the thick of it. But I think we'll wrap up this week, gentlemen, before we get too carried away with ourselves. However, we would love to know, you lovely viewers and listeners out there, what some of your bugbears are. What are some of your funniest, most frustrating moments that have happened to you recently in the video games that you've been playing? Let us know in the comments below. Tweet at us. Share us your clips. Any funny details. I know I shared my Assassin's Creed Valhalla one with the fishing. If you listened to my fishing rant earlier on the show, go follow me on Twitter and check that out, because I try and capture some funny moments in that. But yeah, we'd love to see them. Give us a laugh if you've got them. Again, this is all in good humour. We love video games. I know we sound entitled, like little bitches moaning about the little things that don't happen. But yeah, you've got to laugh at it, right? You've got to laugh at it. It's all video games. But that has been episode 25 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast post-show. Thank you once again for joining us this week. And do remember, if you would like this show up to 5 days early, you can subscribe over on patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia, where for as little as $1 or 79p, you can get on board with all things Sound Stadia, support the three of us, and help us grow this channel with exclusive early access content, free gaming sessions, secret gaming sessions with us, exclusive chat, options to write in with topics and suggestions for the future growth of the channel. Just be part of our more smaller community as well. But thank you very much for watching this week. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
And we've been arguing about frustrating things in games. Have a great week, everyone. Take care. See you soon. Goodbye.
Chris hits horses.
I do hit horses and fish and many other animals.